really
I
shining.
hope my truck's clean enough for you.
Listen, I'm just trying not to touch anything. It looks brand new.
Yeah, don't look in the backseat.
There's a body in the backseat, you guys. I don't even know what's going on, but are we burying somebody today?
Yeah.
I am.
I thought you were our morale officer.
Yeah,
you got
I don't see you want to
give
publish
me
this.
some encouragement.
Okay, well, you live on the edge, Jaden. I'll just say that.
Yeah. I'm trying to live to my edge. You know, we got to tell people how we met. We met at the Momentous Man.
Okay.
And
how did you get invited to Momentous Man?
Isaac.
So Isaac, your brother said you should go.
Yeah.
And you said okay. Oh, wait, why did you say yes?
It took a while.
Because when men talk to men about men's groups,
yeah,
the men that have never been are like, I don't know, it sounds a little bit.
Right.
Now you're gonna follow these cars to the right.
Okay. Yeah.
Then we're gonna do this sugar loop thing. I don't know who put this together, but they were smoking something.
Yeah, I think you will at some point.
Okay, so I didn't even know. So we go through Momentous Man. So we go through a 3-day men's program, and I felt like you and I kind of connected. I felt like right, like there was a couple of the exercises we did together, and it was really cool. But how come I'm the last guy to know about your podcast? I just feel like that's a betrayal of our budding friendship. That I just found out about the podcast like 3 days ago. What's up with that?
Some of the guys just dug it up when we were there and asked me about it and said, oh, you have a podcast. And I was like, oh, yeah, I just started a podcast.
Well, if you guys are listening to Jaden's podcast, just know the audience is about to blow up because the word is out now. The word is out.
Yeah.
So this thing that he's trying to keep kind of in the closet, it's coming full bore. This men's program that we met at was 16 men from wildly different backgrounds with wildly different life experiences. It's not really a therapeutic, it's not like it's a treatment program.
Side by side, you know.
We side by side shooting horses, worked with horses, the contrast therapy, the hot cold, the cold plunge,
every morning the cold plunge.
But then just being in a circle of men as we talk about stepping fully into our masculine selves, getting out of the traps of society and our culture and maybe our religious background. Again, but it was not an anti-religion program. It was really just the constraints of some religions or the culture of some religions seems to undermine the ability to have the relationship with the divine. We get caught up in the trappings of our faith tradition instead of the power of why it exists in the first place, because it's supposed to facilitate a greater connection with God.
Yeah.
So men talking about that, because a lot of them had trauma. Some of them were sexually abused. Some of them were divorced. Some of them had addictions to substances or porn. Some of them came from maybe a cult background, and some of them were just very broken men, Yeah. So, but we got to talk about this on the podcast, but because I want to say, why does it work? Why does a kind of a not? Because it's not like, hey, you're on a 12-step. It's not a 12-step program. It's not that. It's not that you're. Oh, let's find your inner child. There's none of that. And yet, as men in a brotherhood and community and a place of vulnerability, a conversation without any shame about whatever it is you're doing or whatever you're trying to make sense of in your life, there's just something powerful about men being together, doing manly things and talking about stuff that they generally don't have the tools, skills, or the modeling to talk about.
Yeah, I agree.
Like at dinner last night. At dinner last night, Frank was like, so what's really going on? And Kai was like, well, okay, here's what's really going on.
Yeah.
And we just sat there like eating our dinner. But that's not a conversation you have that you grew up seeing any man have.
Yeah, that's true.
One of the things that men tend to do is when we get trapped in some kind of trauma or something we don't understand, whatever you want to call it, maybe trauma is too strong, maybe it's not strong enough, I don't know. But if we, in any aspect, don't make sense of something, or we feel like we're not measuring up, or we don't have the capacity to do something, we then move to isolation.
Yeah, we do.
And in isolation, everything gets a little bit worse.
But guys, Kirk's been, he wanted me to come try this breakfast place. I guess I'm the only one in Utah that hasn't tried this.
Oh my gosh, where have you been? Okay, so it's kolaches. So the first one was down in Provo, and I found out about it, and I went down there. And what they do, if you haven't been, if you're one of the losers like Jaden, and you've never been because you never leave the house, then what they do is they make them and sell them until they're gone. And when they're gone, they just close up and everybody goes home. So finally, after, I don't know, a couple of years, someone said, well, let's open another shop. I'm like, what the hell? So finally, they opened another shop at American Fork.
When's the first time you came to this breakfast place?
The one in Provo, probably a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And it was like finding gold.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm about to hit gold there.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Boy. All right, guys, we got our breakfast.
Our Ruskas, Kalashi. Right? Go ahead.
It's like elite. Okay. I got the ham egg cheese.
Yep.
And then it's called the Texan.
With a little jalapeno in there.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and take a bite.
All right.
Let your followers see what
Okay.
what heaven looks like.
This is the Texan.
All right.
What do you think it's going to be like?
It's gonna be big. Fresh bread smell and that taste. Just came out of the oven this morning. Right?
Yeah.
You right? Dreams are
Yeah.
coming true?
Yeah, it is pretty good.
It's pretty good. All right.
All right, your turn.
Oh. So good. This is the Mexican.
Nice.
All right.
Kirk's in there just like smelling everything.
You gotta savor it.
Enjoying
You gotta
it.
savor the moment.
I'm learning to savor the moment like that. I'm like in and out and off. Like I gotta stop doing that. Right?
You gotta savor
Like
it.
it's such a beautiful day. It's like 65 degrees.
It's a perfect day.
Kirk talked me into getting some
Liquid death.
Yeah.
It's edgy, but safe. Safe for children.
I don't like the name, honestly. I love the name, but I hate the name.
All right.
It's like, why would I risk it?
Well, but in the world of marketing, that makes sense, right?
Yeah. No, I love it. I hate that I didn't come up with it. You know,
So it's envy then.
Cindy.
That's not attractive.
Oh man, that's why you're here, to help me.
Be less unattractive.
No, to help me become more
Attractive.
Yeah.
Same thing. Less unattractive.
Kirk told me he loves pickleball, and I also love pickleball, and so, like, we've got a problem now.
We've got to do a pickleball podcast.
Yeah.
So, because I'm going to smoke him. I'm going to smoke him like a cheap cigar.
He has no idea how good I am. Like,
Well, Jaden thinks he's pretty good and stuff because he played in Idaho.
no.
And they're probably batting around a potato or something up there. So he probably, but if you play with a bunch of left-handed freaking wannabes and you're better than them, that doesn't mean you're really good. It just means you're better than the worst people that ever played. So that's what I'm speculating.
Yeah.
So
We have a.
Or
At
we
some
could
point-
play and I could not score any points. It could be.
Yeah, that's I think
That's
that
what you
sounds
think.
right.
That feels right to me. That feels right to me. All my really good friends play pickleball, so
Okay.
there is hope for our relationship.
Maybe you, me,
Maybe
Jans,
we might be able to come
maybe
friends.
Isaac.
Isaac plays?
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's what we gotta do.
Isaac and I together against you and Jans.
Don't pull the brother card. The
That'd
first
be
thing
a
we're
good match.
gonna do is break up the brothers. You didn't talk to me about podcasts, Momentous Man. You didn't talk about pickleball. See, I thought, Jaden, seriously, I thought we had a little bit of a connection. And what I'm finding is we didn't. What I'm finding is you withheld.
Well,
You didn't trust the relationship. That's what I'm finding.
I didn't think when I saw you, I thought, oh, he probably doesn't play pickleball.
So you looked at me and gave me that kind of judgment.
Yeah.
You're the worst.
I know.
This is a rough start to our friendship. Oh!
You're kind of a Utah guy.
Well, I served my 2-year Mormon mission here.
Oh, did you?
This was my 2-year assignment.
Wow.
Yeah, what a non-starter that was to open your mission call and it was like, oh, you're going to the place.
You're going to Salt Lake.
Yeah, you're like, what?
Isn't everybody there converted?
Yeah, like you don't have any idea. You come here and you just fall in love, but you don't know. Because when you're a young man, you're like, oh, you're kind of dreaming of, I'm going to go to the Amazon, I'm going to go to Argentina, I'm going to go to the Outbacks of South,
Then you find out you're going to
Salt Lake City, Utah.
All
right.
You ready?
Pickleball.
All right. Pickleball. That's where that's where we can meet them.
Your sisters play?
Yeah, they're not near as good as me. That's a problem. I can play all of them put together. So
It's hard to play people that are, we're generous and people nurtured us, and but Rebecca and I decided, it's hard to play someone who's just starting.
Yeah.
It's just hard.
All right.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
we're gonna start. You good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Welcome everybody. This is the Jaden and Jess podcast. We've got a special guest, Chief Morale Officer, friend of mine, pickleball player, Ranger, Army Ranger. Thanks for coming, Kirk. I'm excited.
Pleasure.
Yeah, I'm
Pleasure,
excited
Jay.
to have you. Kirk and I went out and got breakfast this morning, and now we're here to either be serious or make some jokes. I'm really not so sure yet.
Right.
So.
No, we're just gonna continue to have some dialogue. And
Yeah.
Jaden is a very easy person to visit with and talk to. And from the first time we connected, I just thought, no, I can have a conversation with this guy about anything. So
Yeah. Well, thanks, Kirk, because one of the things that I've been thinking about just in my personal life a lot is it seems like I hit roadblock after roadblock after roadblock.
Yeah.
And lately it seems like life's been picking up a little bit, and people start to say yes, or I start to do better here and there.
Right.
And
right.
it just kind of feels like the veil is lifted.
Okay.
But it's hard when you're going through that, when you hit roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, and mentally and socially and financially, and sometimes it just makes you wonder, why is life worth it?
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it gets hard.
Yeah. And so I wanted to ask you, when people are in a really bad situation, and they are hitting roadblock after roadblock, and supposedly, God's supposed to be there to rescue them, or their friends are supposed to be there to help them.
Right.
But they keep hitting these. Why is life worth it? Why should they keep going?
I don't know that I've got the big answer for that. Why do you keep going?
Well, the reason I keep going is because it's my only option. But if you think about your son,
right?
If you were to tell him, why should he keep going? I don't know. Sometimes it's just a genuine question.
Sure.
Sometimes for people that.
So what we're talking about is someone who's pretty discouraged. They feel like they're not making progress. They're not making momentum. They're just kind of stuck.
Yeah, but they're also just hitting. Yeah,
so it's more than being stuck.
Some people just get dealt a bad hand.
So it's more than being stuck. It's being stuck, and then in that stuckness, someone comes by and just slaps you every few minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kirk, me and you, we time travel back to when you're 17. It's Friday night. We're going out.
Okay.
What we doing? You're kind of the leader. I wish I could say I was, but socially, I don't know if I could navigate it. So we're 17. What are we doing? Are we looking for girls? Are we?
So we're talking about the maturity. You're talking about when I was 17?
Yeah, when you're 17.
Or
go back to when you're 17. I'm with you. Somehow I'm 17 too.
Okay. And the mindset that I had at the time?
Yeah.
That's what we want to talk about that?
Yeah. So
we went from roadblocks to 17?
Yeah.
It's a pretty quick shift.
Yeah. We got to keep the audience engaged.
We didn't address the first one. Okay. So if I was 17, we were hanging out when I was 17, and that means I'm going back a lot farther in time than you are. Right? I thought it was really important to catch girls' attention and to be with girls. I thought that was really important.
Did you drink at all when you were 17?
I wasn't never much of a drinker. I did smoke.
Okay.
I did smoke. I'm not
Was
proud.
that hard to stop?
No. I was more interested in, I don't know. I think so much of my life was based on insecurities and uncertainties and not knowing who I was. And so I would try to fit in with the bad crowd, but that's not my nature. I lived in East Texas. We moved from Michigan to East Texas. So
What age?
So I was 14. So I was never really a Texan. I was never one of the Cowboys.
Okay.
I was never big or coordinated enough to play sports.
You're a pretty tall guy.
Yeah, but I didn't have any coordination. I never played basketball, so I didn't. When a lot of boys and girls, if they get involved in sports or band, they become good at something. Mm-hmm. And I think being good at something gives you some confidence.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have any of that. So I was trapped in some limiting beliefs and probably self-harm kind of, things I today would look at them as self-harm because they weren't good for me. And I also just wasn't sure. Yeah, I just wasn't sure what I really wanted to do. I was raised in a faith tradition, but I thought I just wasn't hitting the mark there. I thought, well, to be good in the faith tradition, you don't do these things, and I was doing those things, so I must not belong there. So I wasn't an unhappy child, but I definitely was a boat without a rudder.
Yeah. So you weren't real good at anything. You weren't sure exactly where you were going. Mm-hmm. So if me and you were 17 together, we'd probably just be out looking for some girls' attention.
Yeah.
Laughing with each other, listening to some music.
If there was a church dance, then it'd be kind of fun and alluring to dance with a girl at church, and then you're like, well, I hope this leads to making out, because that feeling that comes, that euphoric feeling that comes when you're kind of making out, you think that's the goal, and you think that's what you're supposed to do, because you have limited imagination, you have limited experience, and the world and your culture has taught you, this is kind of, you don't really know that, but so you're like, well, I guess this is what we're supposed to do.
When did your mindset shift from just wanting girls' attention to more, okay, I got to get married? Well, or was that always how you...
No, there's a big gap there. So for me, from 17 to 20, and I'm just saying 17 because that's the age you picked, but if I would go from 14 to 20, okay, I would say those are not years I'm proud of, right?
Why?
Just because of the decisions and choices I was making, and I wasn't making any progress. After high school, I had a couple pretty good jobs, and I made pretty good money for a high school graduate. I was making great money, but since I had no discipline, I spent the money quicker than I made it. Right, so your expenses always expand to meet your income, kind of a thing. And my expenses always expanded beyond my income because I thought, my next paycheck, I got it. So somewhere around 20 is when I bumped in Jaden. I bumped into someone from high school. So it's been a couple years since high school graduation. Now in Tyler, Texas, where I went to high school, we're going back in time. The thing was to have some Krager mags on your cool car, and then you drive up and down Broadway in your cool car, pull over in the parking lot. Some of the guys, the rednecks would be over there having their beers. The heads or the dopers would be over there having a joint, right? But everyone's driving. That was like the only thing to do in town. That was what you did. There was no social media. There was no doom scrolling. You just drove up and down. And I never really did that much. That wasn't my thing. I just felt like, what are we doing? But I bumped into a guy, Jaden, and he was still doing it. I said, hey, we caught up, and what are you doing? He goes, he's 20 years old, like me. He's still driving down Broadway on the weekends. And so I kind of left going, what a loser. I mean, he's been doing that since he was 16. I did it 4 or 5 times when I was bored. But I didn't do it every day. I didn't do it every weekend. This guy was still doing it every weekend, trying to pick up girls and have beers and be tough. And I'm like, what a loser. But when I really stepped back from it, I go, well, yeah, but Kirk, what have you done?
Did you kind of wish that you were better at that?
No, I just wished that there was something happening in my life.
Okay.
I was just kind of...
and is that why you decided, okay, I'm joining the Rangers?
Yeah, I was not making any progress. I was kind of churning. And I was also maybe even had a little bit of awareness that my decisions were not getting better, they were getting worse. I need to get out of this culture. I need to get out of this community. Because everyone sees me a certain way. I see myself a certain way. I need a fresh start. Mm-hmm. So I went to my dad and I said, Dad, I think I'm about joining the military. And my dad goes, oh, tell me more about that. And I said, well, I just think I need some discipline in my life. And my dad goes, I'm sure inside he was like, yes. Right?
Did you have a good relationship with your dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I signed up for 4 years And those 4 years in the military were the beginning of the death of the old Kirk, the beginning of a new life for me. And some of that was rooted in having never. Did you do athletics and band? Did you do anything when you were?
No. Oh no.
Okay, so I didn't, and the people that did were just weird. They're like, I don't get that. But there's confidence that comes when you have a skill. When there's something that you know you can do well, there's some confidence that comes with that. Like my wife, she lettered in 4 different sports. I was attracted to Rebecca's confidence. I think she's a cute girl, but it was her confidence. And I thought, where does she have all this confidence? And she played 4 different sports in high school. She has an orientation towards confidence and believing in herself. I didn't have that. So I go in the military. And
were you married?
Oh no, I didn't. I'm not getting married for another 7 years in this story.
Okay.
So I go in the military. I have a contract that says I can try out for the Rangers if I make the standards. So the first thing that happens in the military, you go to basic training, and and this is for the first time I'm learning how to push my body, and my body's like, "What are you doing?" Right? And I was not the leader in basic training. I was trying to learn how to run, trying to learn how to do push-ups and sit-ups. I was trying to learn how to shoot a weapon. I was nobody's hero.
Were you a skinny guy?
Yeah,
6'3".
I don't think I was 6'3" then, but I was getting close. But I was skinny, 185 pounds. I'm 225 now.
Okay.
So then after basic training in AIT, advanced individual training, I've now been pushing my body for 6 months. Now you go to airborne school. Airborne school is a different school, and the standards are a little bit higher. They require you to be able to run a little faster, to do more push-ups and sit-ups. I barely make the standard. I'm squeaking by. After airborne school, we get assigned to the Ranger unit. In the Ranger unit, the standards are even higher. I'm barely squeaking by. After about a year in the Rangers, my body started to catch up to all the things I was asking to do, and my body began to have a foundation now to get strong. And then after about 2 years in the military, a year in the Rangers, I started kind of moving up.
What year did you join the military?
That was 84, 2 years after high school.
Okay.
I graduated in 82. So at 84, so about 1986, now Kirk Weisler is, for the first time in his life, he's coming in first in a couple things. Put a rucksack on his back, do a 12-mile march, he's going to be in the front. Put him on a range, he's going to shoot expert. You know, I'm gaining skills and confidence. And
now you're confident.
Yeah, well, I have in some areas of my life, I have confidence. Like this is the first time in my life, I'm like, I'm doing hard things. I'm an airborne ranger. And some of the guys they thought they were Rambo and stuff. That wasn't my orientation. But for me, it was really important because I was like, oh, I have confidence. And then somewhere in there is when I got reacquainted with my faith. I thought, oh, I had a couple experiences that caused me to think, wait a minute, what do I really think about God? What do I really think about having a relationship with God? What do I really think about these things? And I decided that because of the experiences that what I concluded was if I was standing before God, it wouldn't be this. Like my Baptist friends, they were like, you're going to stand before the judgment bar. You know, they had the whole judgment bar thing. That wasn't my orientation. My vision was if I stood before God, he was going to ask me a simple question. And that was, what do you know about me? And I was going to like, oh man, I always had the books. I just never read them. You know?
Yeah.
Right? So I started reading the books. And then that was an important part of my development as well.
Okay. So
you have physical confidence, emotional confidence, but still no spiritual confidence. And I think all those things for me needed to kind of help come together and work together.
Yeah. So in order to become a Ranger, how much different is a Ranger from a Navy SEAL?
I think, and some Rangers might disagree with me, but I think that Navy SEAL training is much harder.
Okay.
But the washout rate, I think the washout rate for Navy SEAL, I don't know. I don't know what it is now. In the Rangers, we used to have about a 50% washout rate. So about 50% of the people that went into the Rangers, the Ranger course, washed out. And probably about the same percentage that went into the Ranger unit. So in the Ranger unit, you have to go to the Ranger course. It's like kind of a subset. But there's a pretty good dropper. I don't know what it is now. I just know what it was when I was there.
Yeah, I think the Navy SEALs are like 90% or something.
Yeah, I think they their course is different. I think it's much harder. Like there's things that they do. I'm like, I don't think I would do that.
Did you ever go to combat or
No.
went on a mission or?
Yeah, I went in the military right after Grenada, and I got out right before the Desert Storm operations. So I was right in that little window of time.
Do you feel
there.
lucky, or do you wish you would have fought?
A little bit of both. When you're young, you're like, you want to go test your mettle. You want to go. I've done all the training. I want to go see what this looks like. But then you watch Black Hawk Down, and you go, yeah, I don't think I missed that.
Yeah. So when do you get married? So did you meet your wife before you went to the military? After.
So after my 4 years in the military, that's when I got religion, if you will. That's when I thought, well, I can't give 4 years to Uncle Sam, not give a couple years to God. So then I went on a mission for my church for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Then after my mission, I started college. I'm almost 27 when I start college, and that's when I met Rebecca.
Well, I'm curious about your years in the military.
Mm-hmm.
How are those years, because you're kind of lost in religion, how are those years with women? Do you just kind of get by, not really thinking too much about it? Are you pretty busy? Are you trying to find a girlfriend? Are you trying to find a wife? What? Because those are young, horny years.
Yes.
And I'm just trying to understand what your mindset was about women through that time.
No, great question. I was still, the first couple years in the military, I was still trapped in kind of an over-sexualized mindset about that. I wasn't trying to get married, and I wasn't trying to get laid per se, but I still was oriented towards checking girls out, making out with girls. That was still, right, the unhealthy way that you could have a relationship with girls, I think. The way I view it now anyway. So I was still, like, to your point, you're still oriented towards women and wanting to be with them and wanting to flirt with them and wanting to have their company. I think that's always, a part of a healthy male. So, but I wasn't in full respect mode. I wasn't in alignment with what I would later understand to be a much more healthy viewpoint of.
Did you have a brotherhood in the Ranger?
When you do hard things with other men, you bond with them and you establish some trust. But I never really had anybody that I wanted to hang out with. I was like, these are my guys. We would go do things together, do hard things together, but a lot of them were interested in things I wasn't interested in, especially when I started getting some more spirituality in my life. A lot of the guys were like, well, no one ditched me. No one made fun of me because I was pursuing a religious life. It wasn't like, there was no peer pressure to be bad, per se.
It seems like you were a little bit lonely, though.
Yeah.
Were you? All through your growing up years, did you feel like you weren't enough? Couldn't?
Yeah. Like
up until what point?
There's a beautiful book about this called The Gap in the Gain. We kind of imagine this is what the ideal man is. This is what the ideal relationship is. This is what the ideal job is. This is what the ideal version of myself is. And then we just, this is the ideal. And of course, the ideal, you never achieve the ideal. But the book kind of says we create this ideal in our minds, and then we see where we're at, and then we see the gap, and we go, oh, and then we get into not enoughness. Mm-hmm. And then we create a story around that. And I'm not enough, and I'm probably never going to be enough. Well, there's the ideal church boy, whatever that church boy is, or the ideal son of God, the ideal Christian, the ideal whatever. And then you're like, oh, I'm not that, so I must not be enough.
When did you realize that, though? Because I know how it feels to feel like you're not enough. What is enough for you today? Financial success, if you have what you need, is that enough? Do you feel like you still have something to prove?
I think there's a book by there's a book called 75 Hard, and in that book it talks about the importance of choosing to do hard things. But in that book, he also describes something that he calls the bitch voice, which is that voice that says you're not enough. Like, what are you doing? Who do you think you are to do a podcast? Who's going, right?
You're like, well, I feel like I want to do this, but then that little bitch voice goes, "You're wasting your money. No one's going to ever listen, right? No one's ever going to buy your book." But that voice that just seems to feed the darkness and the doubt and the despair. And quieting that voice is a journey of a lifetime. So to your question about not being enough, I think by and large I quieted that voice in most aspects of my life. But that doesn't mean there's not a day where it gets loud. And it says, "What are you doing?" Now, do I still feel like I have something to prove? My orientation on that question is a little bit, I guess the way I'm taking the question is, I don't know that I have something to prove to anyone except me. And what I want to do, what I'm working on this year is, there's been a lot of, like, you're successful with your company, right?
I would consider that starting out, I've been getting along, but I wouldn't consider right now that it's a major success or anything.
Yeah, but you're paying the bills, you have a job, you have momentum, you have clients.
Yeah, I'm paying the bills, but it's not near, like, it's way better than what it was, but it's not near what I want.
Okay. So if you go, yeah, it's not what I want, and you go, I'm not there yet, then you're living in the gap. You're like, yeah. So the book says always measure backwards. Always measure. If you always measure backwards, you go, well, here's where I'm at. Forget the ideal. The ideal is what we strive for. We never achieve it. Because even if you had 30 trucks and 300 employees, you still like, yeah, but this could be a $50 million company instead of a $30 million company. You would imagine another ideal. That's natural for us. But if we always measure backwards, we go, wow, just 2 years ago, it was just me. Just a year and a half ago, it was this. A year ago, it was this. In 2 years, this guy, me, with no coaching on my own, has built a business that's generated this amount of revenue. And the foundation for 30 buildings exists because of what I did. If you measure backwards, you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I feel like I've come a long ways, especially with my mindset. I think that's the biggest thing I've achieved is just seeing the world through different eyes.
Okay, so this is huge. So now, do you have something to prove? So for me, I've achieved some level of success. I've had a full speaking calendar for over 20 years based on word of mouth referrals. I'm really proud of that, and I should be. That's really a great accomplishment. But I used to interpret it differently. I thought, but I don't have a marketing video. I don't have the stuff. I kept waiting for the wheels to fall off. Every time I went to some kind of a speaker's conference, they'd say, to be successful in the speaking industry, you need to have these 15 things. I had 2 of those 15 things. I guess I'm going to go out to business tomorrow. I got so obsessed with what I didn't have, I didn't honor what I did have. So for me now, I've surrendered the shame of not being enough in that aspect of my life. Like, I don't need those things. I need to learn how to ask for help for the things that I need. So there's there's still lots of growth and opportunity for me to grow, and I still have the bitch voice kind of whispering to me, yeah, but what about this? What about that? But by and large, I've been successful at laying a lot of those things down. And so this year, I've got 5 huge goals, things I want to accomplish. And that might sound, to the podcast listener, that might sound 5. That's pretty big. You think a lot of yourself, well, no, there are 5 goals that I've been carrying around for, some of them 7 years. But I haven't executed on them because I thought I'm not enough, or I'm not quite ready yet. I just need a little bit more money. I need a little more understanding. And so I've been making all kinds of excuses to not go after these things that keep occurring in my journals. So I believe now, when you and I have, for me, when I have a recurring thought about something or someone, I'm supposed to do something with it.
Do you?
Yeah. So if you have 1,000 thoughts today, okay, you're going to have 1,000 thoughts tomorrow. And 900 of them might be different, but if 100 of them are the same, and then they keep showing up, I believe that's the universe or God or something that's kind of drawing us, inviting us to take action. For example, think about all the people that you know, that you've ever met. But you wake up this morning and you can't get one of your sisters off your mind. You just keep thinking about her. So then you give her a call. And she said, "Oh, hey, Jaden, yeah, I was just thinking about you. Yeah, everything, yeah, well, is everything okay?" And then, I'm so glad you called. Mm-hmm. This is going on. Or maybe 2 weeks later, she says, "You know that day you called me out of the blue? This had just happened. And I was in a really dark place, Jaden." And you're like, "Oh."
So you feel like that's kind of how God speaks to us in our lives?
I'm sure he speaks in a lot of different ways, but that's how I've learned to hear what I feel is God's voice and direction in my life.
Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of times, kind of on this same subject, a lot of times I feel like I have sort of the world to prove. And there's never really a point where I feel like, okay, I can just relax today. I always feel a little bit anxious.
Because you're not doing something.
Yeah, or whether it's my social life or my financial life or just like what the people in general think, it's like never enough. And so I just want to ask you, you're older.
Yes, I am.
Where is peace? Where is peace? Where is enough?
I just did this exercise yesterday. Can we do it?
Yeah.
This is the exercise. So if you're listening to this, we invite you to do the exercise with us. And I've never led this exercise before. I just barely did it yesterday. I'm going to try and recreate it. Okay, so close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Try to clear your mind. Try to think about nothing. I wonder what my next thought will be. And when I did that, Jaden, my mind was completely at peace.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, what comes next? I wonder what my next... So you're saying, I wonder what my next thought will be. And after that,
it's like, what should I think about?
I was trapped in the wonder, right?
Yeah.
When we did that breathing exercise with Jamie, the very first time I did it with her, some people had some really cool experiences with that. They saw people, they had like a ketamine trip kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. I didn't, but I did have a moment of peace where I just felt like the same thing that I felt like that. Stillness, peace. And I don't know, I'd love to live there. Maybe that's what we do in the next life, but I think there's moments we can experience it here. And when we do, I want to just pause. I want to savor it. I want to savor that.
Yeah, I'm not good at savoring.
My wife says that we're imperfect people in search of perfect moments. We're imperfect people in search of perfect moments. And I think Momentous Man for me was, there was many perfect moments. I thought, I love this moment. I love when you and I were quietly just looking or being back to back and just feeling another person's energy. I'm like, I've never done this before. How am I 60 years old and I've never done this before? And just going, this is a perfect moment. And then Jamie talked about it. Did she call it monkey mind?
I don't remember.
When you start getting your own thoughts. So here I am in this peaceful place, and then I start thinking, I don't want to lose this peaceful moment. My brain was already getting in the way of my peaceful moment, trying to protect it from going away. So then all of a sudden the peaceful moment was gone because I was trying to protect. It was just, she calls that monkey mind.
Oh, I see.
It's a nicer version of the bitch voice. It just undermines the moment and your confidence.
Well, we got to hear your love story.
The love story?
Yeah, your love story. Getting married.
Oh. I feel like there might be something in you. So are you looking? Because you've asked about marriage now in a couple of times. Are you?
Oh no! We went through your life, and
but I'm just thinking.
Learning. I'm learning from you. Yeah, okay. Yeah. But
so I wonder how many women follow this podcast.
More than men.
Jaden.
Yeah, I don't know why. Listen, I think it might change.
What did you think about the guys last night at dinner kind of crawling into your romantic life?
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, man, they're kind of chasing it.
Yeah.
I wondered why they were. But you handled it well.
Yeah.
So at dinner last night, there's 4 married men and Jaden. And so one of these guys is not like the other. And so they were asking about his romantic life and stuff and living alone. And I think they all just love you and they want you to be in love.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rebecca and I have been married for 33 years. We got 6 kids.
What year did you get married?
91. August 8th. 8/8/91 is the anniversary date. So I served my 2-year LDS mission in Utah. And
From what years?
88 to 90, or a little bit of overlap there, just roughly. That's
Yeah.
So I went on my mission from East Texas, but my parents had moved while I was on my mission, so there was no reason to go back there. And they moved to St. Louis, and there was no reason to go home there. I've now 2 years in Utah made me a resident, so I can go to college here without paying out-of-state tuition. I didn't have the grades. I didn't have the high school grades to get into BYU. Not even close. So I went to Utah Valley Community College, which is now UVU.
So were you a ranger for 4 years?
4 years. 84 to 88. So I went to so UVCC is now became UVSC, State College, and then now it's UVU, right? So that was before your time. My little brother, who's 5 years younger than me, just came off his mission. He got into BYU on an art scholarship. He's an artist. My other 2 roommates were mission companions, Elder Ryrie and Elder Goss. So we had a little apartment of 4 guys over in Park Plaza on 9th East, which is right off the BYU campus, just right off BYU. But so they went to BYU, I went to UVU. And our college started a week before theirs. So this is this is how I found my wife's story. Is that what you're asking me, or do you want me to just talk about how much I love her?
No, I'm asking about your
How I found her?
yeah.
How we found each other?
Yeah.
So I go to my first day of college, and I'm a deer in the headlights. Jaden, I'm like, what is going on? There's trying to find my way around campus and all that stuff, and having a lot of fun. Because this is different than I was in high school. This is a ranger, returned missionary. This is a kid with a lot of confidence, and who wants to have a healthy dating relationship with girls, right?
Right.
And I'm really excited about it because there's a lot of girls. And so this could be a lot of fun, just to date and have fun and to be good. And I wanted to do all those things. In the hallway, I saw a red-haired girl and a dark-haired girl laughing so hard that I stopped and watched. They were laughing so hard. One of them actually was laughing, I'm peeing my pants. Just laughing so hard. Mm-hmm. And I just watched them. And if you and I drove down that university today, which is 20 minutes away, I can walk to exactly that spot where I stood. It's that clear in my mind. I can walk you to exactly that spot. And that's where I laid eyes on these 2 girls. And I really was drawn to the brunette. And that was the big-haired picture I showed you.
Yeah.
And I think my wife's beautiful, of course, but that was not the words that came to my mind. The words that came to my mind was, that girl is so alive. Mm-hmm. I didn't think, oh, this is my wife. I didn't have any premonitions of marriage or any desires other than I thought she was really alive, and I couldn't stop watching her. So I followed her to class. Now, they would call that stalking today. But then it was just, and then I wrote down because I didn't know. I thought, how am I going to find her again? There's thousands of, so I wrote down the class and the day. I thought, well, I can come back here. If she stays in this class, I can find her again. I go home that day, and my roommates, they don't start college for another week at BYU. And I'm the oldest guy in the apartment. So they're just ragging me. They're just razzing me like, hey, Kirk, you're the oldest one, so you need to get married first. You need to lead the way. You're a ranger, da-da-da, just talking smack. And did you meet your wife today? Just talking smack, just really ragging on me. And good-natured, right? And we're in a 3rd-story apartment looking out over, it's like a horseshoe. So we're looking out, and it's wrapped around a swimming pool. We're on the 3rd-story balcony, sidewalk balcony inside. And we're sitting there, and they're ragging on me. And I go, well, I did see a girl today that I followed her to class, and like, oh, Kirk, Kirk, da, da, da. At that very moment they're ragging on me, I look down, and there is that girl, the big-haired girl, is walking on the second floor balcony. I'm like, with a boy. I'm like, that's the girl right there. And they're like, we're gonna take him out. We're gonna take him out. Right? So again, just good nature. So I thought some guy that lives in our apartments is trying to pick up my girl. And she wasn't my girl. I didn't even know her name.
Yeah.
So, but just all, you can hear guys, right? Just college guys talking smack. Well, it turns out that guy didn't live there. She did. So she also was commuting clear across town. So she was living in BYU housing on the east side of BYU, but she was also going to the same college I was going to. Her roommates were all BYU students like mine were. But her grades weren't good. So that was it. Now, it took me a while to convince her that she liked me as much as I liked her. Because she's also quite a bit younger. So she came over from England, so she was kind of a year ahead. So she was 17, didn't turn 18 for another month or two. And I'm 27, right? So there's a little gap there, 8.5, 9-year gap between us. And I've dated a lot of girls. And I was just like, no, I think I want to date you, and I think I want to marry you. I got there pretty quick. But she's like, I've dated one boy in high school, and I'm not even thinking about marriage. I'm 18, just turned, right? So there was some things to work through there. But eventually she said, okay. But there was a time there that she said, hey, Kirk, I think you like me a lot more than I like you. You're serious. You're looking for marriage, and that's fine. I'm just not. So I want to date. I want to have some experiences. And I'm like, I totally get that.
Yeah.
I totally get that. So I backed way off. It was hard, though. I backed off and went in the room and cried and started fasting for 40 days. This, God, please change her will, kind of a thing. But eventually, she dated some guys and went out with guys. I don't know if she was dating. I don't know if it was dating, but she went out with a lot of boys. And after her date, she started to come see me. After dating, she'd come see me. And finally she goes, I'm coming here after my dates. I think I like you more than these boys are asking me out. Yeah. And so I said, as soon as she said that, I went and got a ring. I mean, I thought, well, before she changes her mind, I'm going to try and close this deal.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Cool. Well, one of the reasons I ask about, how you thought about girls when you were in the Ranger and before, and then your marriage life. The reason I ask a lot of people is because by the time I was 20, I had never even really let thoughts come into my mind about girls.
Right.
I just thought it was bad, so I never really had. So now when I'm looking at people and I'm looking at the world, I'm trying to figure out what's the natural kind of course of when things start happening in all these different cultures, because here I am with 100% control of my thoughts, I can totally block everything out, or
right.
As
right.
far as girls go. So that's why I ask people about it, because I'm interested. I don't understand the culture totally, and I'm trying to think.
So the way you were raised, the idea was don't even think about it.
Yeah, one of the things about when I was raised is 20 years before, my mother, her and her brothers, they were together all the time. They grew up, they were happy. But me, it wasn't that way. After 4th grade, essentially besides talking to one of my sisters once in a while, or one of the mothers, and then, the constant training about how to block out the thoughts and keep your mind pure. And that's another one of the reasons I'm interested in people's dark side, is because until I was 22, 23 years old, I didn't let a single dark thought come into my mind. Well, when I started opening up to, okay, the world's bigger, I'm going to have to start getting outside of my box, I started realizing within me, there's a serious dark side that's never been manifest.
Right.
And even with all the perfection of my thoughts, keeping them out, it's still there.
Right.
And so I sort of got fascinated with people's dark side, and that's one of the reasons why I'm interested in, when guys started being interested in dating girls and whatnot. And anyway, so.
Oh, No, because that was never a part of your growing up. See, growing up outside of your world, growing up in the world I grew up in, that was just it. And I don't know. I don't know that my way or the way I was raised or exposed is worse or better than your way. It's just different.
Yeah, it's just different. And I'm not saying I think probably it's probably a little unhealthy to the extreme that I was, right? For sure. But I'm not saying, anyways perfect or anything.
Yeah.
I'm just interested in general.
Yeah. No, I just think, I think I was a little girl crazy. But at the same time, I thought that's what I was supposed to be too.
Yeah. So looking back over your life, from when you were 14 or when you were 5 years old.
Right.
Then you grow up, you kind of go through this lost period of time. I think a lot of people in the modern era go through this lost time.
Sure.
And then you find yourself sort of in the Rangers, and then you get married. And now here you are having coached, or doing your chief morale classes for 30 years.
Yeah.
Looking back at your think of back when you were 5 years old.
Right.
Looking forward over your whole life as that 5-year-old boy.
Right.
Are you satisfied? Are you happy that you made all those decisions? Do you feel, all that part of you when you were 17, 18, all through those years, do you feel, okay, I was enough. I'm going to make the right choices. I don't need to be so worried. Or are you glad that you were worried all through those days? And
no, some people say I don't have any regrets. I wouldn't do anything differently. I just think that's the height of hubris and arrogance. That's how I see it. Mm-hmm. I think if I could go back, I'd change a lot of things. At the same time, it's not healthy for me I can't sit here and live in the regrets.
Right.
But I can still learn lessons from them. So I don't need to wrap myself in shame and walk around with my head down. But no, I would go back and give myself different advice. I would go back and hug that boy. I would go back and, I would love to go with the wisdom I have, go back and go, just walk away from that situation, turn away from that, spend more time there. There's a lot.
That's how you learn, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't understand when people say I wouldn't change a thing. But maybe they have an understanding I don't. Maybe they've already made peace with. I needed those things to become the person I am. I don't know.
That's kind of how I look at it. How could have you become the person that you are if those things hadn't happened?
Yeah. Well, I think I wouldn't be the exact same person I am now. Hopefully, I'd be a lot better.
Yeah.
Right. So because it's those things for me are a lot about wasted time, but I think coming to have a sense of peace with who you are and some grace with how far you've come and haven't come. I mentioned last night at dinner that this guy Josh, he said something that I've really given it some thought, and I haven't drawn all the wisdom out of it yet, but I think that it made sense to me to. He said something to the effect of, go take a look at whoever's listening, go take a look at your 12-year-old self. Or maybe pick an age where you're like, this is why I made some of my worst choices, or when I was the most unhappy or the most difficult for my parents, whatever it was. You look back and go, this was not a happy moment. And this was not my best self. And he said, see that version of Kirk or Jaden or whoever it might be, and you need to love that boy. You need to love that little boy. And the way that made sense to me was, having 6 children, if any of them were doing dumb stuff, and they all have, right? There was never a time like, I don't want you to be my child. There was never a time I wouldn't have thrown my arms around them. There was never a time that I wouldn't have just held them as long as they let me hold them. So why would I not give myself the same grace as I would instantly give my children or another person? And so that really made sense to me. I thought, I need to think about this Kirk that I was kind of ashamed of, and go, I need to love that boy, because there's a reason he did that or didn't do that. There's a reason he was feeling alone or scared or insecure or uncertain or threatened or whatever he was feeling. And to look back and have compassion and love that boy, love that earlier version of myself. And so I don't fully understand that, but as I've practiced a little bit of what he counseled, I found that there's some peace and healing in that. And it feeds and heals my soul. So I like it. I'm learning more about it, getting better at it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you mind? Yesterday we were talking about religion.
Yeah.
And we were talking about being a part of different religions and sort of their rules and what they require. But you told us a story about your son and in kind of relation to religion. Mm-hmm. And I've been thinking about it a lot since last night. And I wondered if you could tell it here, and then maybe we can have a bit of a conversation about it.
Okay. I have no problem sharing the story in a circle of men.
Yeah, if you're not comfortable.
No, I just want to be thoughtful about it, because I don't want the story to be so much about any one of my children's poor choices as it is about what I learned and I'm learning, and my relationship with God, and what I believe is the relationship God wants to have with me, and perhaps all of his sons and daughters. So, in brief, one of our children made some super poor choices and damaged his went into psychosis, damaged his brain, and damaged. It was just hard. He wasn't the same person anymore. And in that psychosis, he just left, and he was a young adult, so we couldn't. And then he, for a couple of years, was kind of homeless, and it was horrific. It was, and he was in different states than us, and just occasionally you get a call from law enforcement or for some center, but they would never keep him. They'd just take him out of a dangerous situation, and then he was back on the streets. And it was hard. It was a hard thing. And there was also social media. He would get on social media in his psychosis and say things that weren't true. Some of them just horrible things about our family, and they weren't based in reality. But they were very public, and it was just hard. It was hard. And of course we just were heartbroken and we wanted him back in every way. And then through a series of circumstances, after almost 2 years, we got an email, and he was coming home. So we go to the airport, and we're waiting there. And we don't really know for sure if he's going to be on there, because, will he come walking off the... we don't know. And then he does. He comes walking off. And he looks worn and thin, and he's got a little Walmart backpack, a little clear backpack that basically has a shaving kit in it that someone bought him. And some angel from God, someone put this boy on a plane and sent him home to us, So he walks out of security, through security, and we're there. And my wife and I and his little brother, we just throw our arms around him. And we hold him. We just hold him, and we weep. And he says, "I'm sorry." We'll learn later that he doesn't even know how long he's been gone. Everything's been a haze to him. He doesn't know that 2 years have passed. He doesn't remember most of what he did in that time, which is maybe a gift. I don't know. But he said he'd like to come home. And we said, "Come." And the lesson that I learned that I tried to convey last night was what we didn't say, what I didn't feel compelled to say, what never entered my mind to say in that moment. And that was, yeah, you can come home, but there's going to be some conditions. There's going to be some rules. There's going to be and you're going to need to get into a treatment. There was none of that. all there was love. All there was, oh, if you want to be with us, that's what we want. We want you to be with us. And that began to, well, it immediately caused some things in me. And I began to have a very different view. Things began to fall away from me in regards to the trappings of my faith tradition. Not that it wasn't true or good or helpful, and even necessary, but it wasn't required. So many of the things that I think are well-intended just become like Pharisees and Sadducees. We become so consumed or obsessed with the jots and tittles of living perfectly this or living ideally this that we get caught up in the law. And I think there's virtue in trying to do the right thing and believing it's right, but then we start projecting what we believe is right on other people, and they're not measuring up. All that's all Pharisees and Sadducees stuff to me. And I'm prepared to be wrong about this, but the way I see it now is that God would not have us harm ourselves or others, but if we want to be with Him, He wants that too. And I don't think there's many more conditions on it than that. Because I think God loves better than I love. And I think He's got a clearer vision than I have. But in that moment, and I still go to the same church, but I just fundamentally show up very differently than I used to. And it's easier for me to love and have peace about everything in my life. Because I've been able to surrender so much of the stuff that I think is cultural baggage that comes with any faith tradition that's created by people and what they think they're supposed to do and what they think you're supposed to do, and just all the stuff, all the culture stuff that's just unnecessary. I think it's really simple. I think when this mortality is over and you and I cross over into the next life, whatever that is, I think we're going to get to be where we want to be.
I love the story, and I've been, out of everything we talked about last night, it really just stuck with me, because I feel like you could almost reverse the situation in my situation.
Okay.
Where I almost always, I wanted my dad's approval so bad, and I lived for it. And I tried to do everything I could, and only got pushed farther and farther away consistently. And so, the idea of faith or God being that way, where it's like, we just want you to be with us. It just seems very healing. Versus, because, your son could leave and do all these bad things, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like the story of the prodigal son.
Yeah.
He comes back and the father throws a bigger party for him than the son that always stayed there. Well, I guess this is also one of the things that tears me about religion is I almost feel the same way a little bit towards religion. I almost feel like I was the son that always tried, but no father ever came and said just be part of it.
Yeah.
And so I guess in a religious sense, that kind of has been one of my biggest problems with religion is wherever I go and look at religion, it seems to be more not that, what you just told me.
Right.
That's a beautiful story. Mm-hmm. And it's a heartfelt story. It really touched me because it feels like that's what I was striving for.
Yeah.
And
but the father never threw his arms around you.
Yeah, and
that's just Jaden. So sorry.
I'm not saying that I deserve it or he should have or anything. I'm just saying that
It feels right. It would have been nice.
it's a beautiful story, but I also, part of me wonders if maybe some of the more difficult things in life are, you don't get that. You don't get that. And, now, do I really want that? I'm not saying I necessarily want that, but one of the things I love about Momentous Man, and I still don't totally feel this way anywhere.
Right.
But you go anywhere and you feel like I've got to measure up here, or, like you were saying, it's not like, oh, you're with us, we're so glad. It's like, okay, what do I got to do?
Yeah, to get in the... Yeah.
And I guess in some sense that, the standard, having a standard, you need to do this to be, to be here. There's places for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like everybody needs a home,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's their parents or their religion, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
A home where, hey, it doesn't matter what you did.
Yeah. If you want to be here.
If you want to be here, we're glad to have you.
Yeah. I think, Jaden, what I think I hear you say a little bit of this not enoughness is, and it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And did you go through the 5 books?
I went through, I think I've been through 3 of them.
No More Mr. Nice Guy?
I haven't been through No More Mr. Nice Guy. I went through the first one.
Wild at Heart?
No.
Way of the Spirit Man?
I've been through that one. But the first one was the, how would I
Man's
forget?
Search for Meaning.
Man's Search for Meaning. How would I forget the book?
No.
Yeah, I've been through those.
A couple of those talk a little bit about this not enoughness, where it comes from. In the book I'm listening to right now, which is not the 5, but I think the 5 helped prepare me for this book, but I really am enjoying it, is this one. The Masculine Relationship by G.S. Youngblood. And in it, he talks about where some of this not enoughness in this can happen. So let's pretend you have a really healthy parents. You got a traditional, healthy mother-father relationship.
Well, one thing I do want to say is my mother has always been that way.
Yeah. Okay. But even the point is, even in the healthiest relationships, a child could be left in the crib too long, or to maybe neglected in some way that no one's even aware of. It was unintentional. The guy that authored the book said his mom got really sick and got put in the hospital, so nobody was there to get him out of the crib. So sometimes he spent hours in the crib. And so children don't know how to process this, but they go, well, they usually get me out of the crib, so they can't help it. They might immediately think the reason I'm not in the crib, they begin to create a story about it must be because of something I did. I'm a bad kid. Well, they're not. It's just circumstances. But in that tender moment, once they decide it's something they did, now they're trying to prove themselves. Now think about the way you were raised. We want and need attention and approval from our parents. And boys, from their mothers and their. You were deliberately denied that for whatever reason. But you needed it. But it wasn't temporary. It was reinforced constantly.
Yeah.
Not only that, it seemed like they reinforced it more the older you got.
Yeah.
Because what you and I've heard, I think Isaac said, it's like they kept moving you farther and farther away from this thing that you really wanted, which was your father's approval. Do you see me? Do you see how hard I'm trying? Do you see I'm doing all the stuff? I'm doing all the things, Dad. I'm doing all the things, Dad.
Mm-hmm.
Farther away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no. So that's a lot. That's a lot to carry into your adulthood. And then you're just going to try to navigate adulthood and try to navigate relationships while there's this war inside of you that I know I'm enough. I mean, I know but intellectually I could tell but everything about my whole genetic code seems to be programmed that I'm not enough. Because that's been reinforced more than anything else in my life, almost.
Yeah.
Jaden, that's a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a lot.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is we did that sabotage thing.
Oh, the tower with the saboteur, yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, why is it that we as humans love to sabotage? And also, I mean, sometimes you get a group of people that just really bind together and they do something great.
Right.
But a lot of times you have somebody that just wants to sabotage. Is that their own insecurities? If you put almost any human in the right situation, they want to sabotage.
So we're talking about self-sabotage and team sabotage.
Yeah. It's like, instead of me and you building somebody up,
right?
Especially when we were younger, we might criticize them, and then we might bond over that.
Right.
We might, instead of helping our neighbors, we might like pull some tricks on them and somehow sabotage them.
There's this beautiful story about. So a couple things. One was a beautiful story. This is like imagine Little House on the Prairie days, right? Whatever that. Okay.
I haven't.
Okay, so it's an old pioneer story. So just go back in time to Utah 180 years ago. I don't know. I don't know when the Mormons showed up. I don't know. So this is a story out of your state where you live. I live in Arizona. This is a story of your state. So this man is working in this field, and it's a muddy field. So he's got his shoes off on the road, and he's deep in the field with his boots on, and he's doing the work. A couple boys come walking by, and brothers, and the older brother says, "Let's hide his shoes, so when he comes out of the field, he won't know where his shoes are." And sabotage him, right? Let's just gotta, punk him, and we'll hide over in that tree and watch him look for his shoes, and get frantic. Now, a pair of shoes back in the day, if you're poor, that was a big deal, right? That's a nickel or a dime that you don't have. Mm-hmm. But the younger brother was a little wiser and said, and this is a true story, he says, well, what if we do this instead? They just got 2 shiny $50 coins, which again, 50 cents today is not much, but 50 cents back in the day, right? That could be a couple bags of flour, whatever it might be. So instead they put a coin in each of the man's shoes, and they go hide behind the tree. The man comes out and takes his boot off, puts his shoe on, then fills something in there, takes the shoe off, and dumps out this $50 into his hand. And then he kneels down and thanks God. Then he puts on his other shoe. And now he sobs and kneels down again. And the boys don't make a sound. It's a beautiful story, yes?
Yeah.
And it's true. So are there people that sabotage? Yes. But I think there's also people out there that just look and do good. But we don't celebrate them. Those stories don't seem to travel as far as the ones who the underminers, right? Kind of a thing. So why do we do it? Why do we self-sabotage? Are you familiar with Jordan Peterson?
Oh yeah, I love Jordan Peterson.
Okay.
I'm probably alive because of him.
Okay, so I love Jordan Peterson. His book, The 12 Rules for Life. Mm-hmm. Do you remember in the book how he talked about why people don't take their prescriptions?
I don't remember.
Okay, let's refresh it because I think it goes to the heart of your question. And of course, he's got the research, right? But in synopsis, it basically says you might have a liver transplant or a kidney transplant, or maybe you just have a really bad case of strep, and the doctor gives you a prescription. You need to take the full cycle of this medicine, or you might need to take these pills for the next 5 years so your body doesn't reject this organ. Mm-hmm. He said a certain percentage of people aren't really good about taking their prescriptions. And he said, and it's a large percentage. They don't take their prescriptions like they should. But those same people, if they took their dog to the vet and the vet says, you cannot miss, this dog needs this pill this every day at this time, these same people won't let their dogs miss a dose. They won't do it for themselves, but they won't let their dog miss. And Jordan Peterson says the heartbreaking reason why is because their dog never hurt anybody. They don't feel they deserve to be totally healthy. Self-sabotage. People don't feel they're worthy of it. I don't deserve this anyway. They don't think they say they want to make the big money, but they don't really think they're worthy of the big money. And so they self-sabotage. They keep themselves because they don't feel like they're worthy of it. They're afraid they're not going to measure up. They already feel like they don't measure up. And so they create excuses and stories, and some of them are really clever, but they keep themselves stuck. Do you remember the story now?
Yeah, that's fascinating.
People can do it in relationships. They can do it in their relationship with their job, their health, their spouse, their child, their sibling, their religion.
I think that I probably do that socially, because my social life is, I work as much as I do because social life is depressing. And when I go out, say I go to a bar or something, or not even a bar, just a social place.
Yeah.
I just do not feel like I fit in, so I feel depressed. And then when I come home and just sit, I feel depressed. And I also feel like when somebody does, because I have a lot of people, and
right.
I'm starting to do better. Like, all the Momentous Man guys, I try to keep it going, but I've had a lot of people over the years reach out, and I probably kind of do that where I push people away and be like, you know what, I don't deserve this friend.
You told the story of this on the very first call after Momentous Man. You told the story. This friend kept inviting you over for dinner, him and his wife. You gave him a stone or something. You gave him a gratitude rock.
Oh yeah, I did.
And you said you finally went.
Yeah.
So you have people reaching out, but you kind of
yeah. I do that a lot. So
yeah, you isolate.
Yeah. I have to say there is a certain comfort in isolation. It's very comfortable.
It is. It's comfortable, but it's lonely.
Yeah,
but,
especially after a period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. What got you into company culture? Why military? Was there something in between, or did you feel kind of called to do this?
No. There's between graduating from college and a couple little jobs, but one of the companies got acquired by another company, and I was a part of a company about 30, mostly men, a couple women. They were all instructors that did computer training, certification training. I was not. My neighbor owned the company. He hired me because he liked me and thought I could help him manage these personalities, because these trainers were kind of divas. They were they were divas. They were really good at what they did and they knew it. And so they were the experts in the room, and when they didn't play well together. Mm-hmm. So my boss thought I'd be a good trainer. But I said, I don't want to train computer stuff. I'm not even interested in it. He goes, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be a people network engineer. I want to help people get along. So he was like, well, let's figure out how to do that together. After a while, his company got acquired by another company because somebody wanted all the smart people. I just came with a package.
I see.
So they said, hey, Kirk, listen, you seem like a nice guy, but we're going to let you go. Mm-hmm. So you got about 3 weeks, and then just be looking. They were really nice about it. And it wasn't personal. I was like, I'm not a technical person. That's fine.
Yeah.
Another guy shows up at the company, and the company is going to build 3 divisions. One's going to be consulting, one's going to be training, and one is going to be support. So this guy shows up. This is Art Coombs. This would be my boss for the next 2 years. He shows up. This is a small little company in American Fork. This is small. Even with these acquisitions, we're talking 45, 50 people, right? And that's after 10 years. This is a kind of a new operation, but this company, they grew 20 people in 20 years. This company grew 15 people in 20 years. So no one in this group has seen hyper growth or large companies except this guy, Art Coombs. So he comes and he watches me interact with people, and he watches me lead a couple activities, like the tower activity. He also knows that I'm on the bubble, I'm leaving. But he comes and approaches me and says, hey, Kirk, he said, I think you'd be a great culture guy. He said, because in our division, we're going to create 1,000 jobs in the next 2 years. And he said, in the world of call centers, outsourced call centers, they have 100%, 200% annual attrition rates. He said, I want to have the lowest attrition rate in the industry, and you can help me do it. And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. He goes, I know you don't. He said, I'll teach you the stuff you need to know. He said, but you have the right personality. You have the right, he said, you already have chosen sunshine, lighting up for people. He said, so I can teach you the stuff, but people have to choose the kind of energy that you've chosen. Okay. And 2 years later, we had created 1,000 jobs. We had the lowest attrition rate in the world in our industry. Wasn't even close how different it was. And it was all because of our focus on culture. Now, I was the culture guy, so I got a disproportionate amount of credit for that, right? Yeah. Because obviously one person is not culture. We all influence culture, but so there was a lot of things, but I was the culture guy, so I got disproportionate credit. But industries were like, whoa, your numbers are so different from anyone else's numbers. Please send someone to tell your story. And my boss sent me. And I was pretty good at telling the story. And I wasn't selling anything. I wasn't selling consulting. I wasn't selling packages. I was saying, here's things leaders can do every day to be more intentional and influence culture. And people were like, oh, anybody could do this if someone shows them how to do it.
So I have a little company, but I want to grow it. What's as the leader and for every other person that I bring on, what's the single most important thing that people need to know, that they need to be taught to have a good culture, to have the people?
Well, here it is. So how do we want to feel at work today? What kind of a team do you want to be on? So describe the ideal team. And so you describe it, he describes it, he describes it, she describes it, she describes it. Respect, yeah. Does that sound good, everybody? Yeah. Okay, well, who's going to make it feel that way? If these are the 5 things that we want most, who's responsible for that? Is it me because I own the company?
Yeah, imagine.
Okay. Well then, so are you guys going to wait for me every day to show integrity and try, or is this something we right? If we all want this, then we all have to live this. Most leaders don't have any version of that discussion. But you have to have that discussion again and again and again and again and again and again and again. I think this thing's about to turn off.
Oh.
All right, romance.
Yeah.
We're back at it.
Yeah, we're back at it. I'm new to this podcast thing, guys, and my camera's ran out of storage, so my bad, Kirk.
It's all good. I don't think we can do wrong. We're just doing good. So that's how I became a culture guy. So your company, so you got to have that discussion. In other words, and here's the thing. So now you've got your first 10 employees, and let's say they feel like, hey, listen, a couple years ago, guys, it was just me. 2 years ago was, well, what is it for when you started your company? It was just you.
Yeah. When
did you hire your first 2 employees?
Well, I've let a lot of people go, so
sure.
Now I'm trying to hire for good.
Okay.
So I'm just starting to hire for good.
Okay. So those guys, here's the vision. In 5 years, we're going to have 80 employees. In 10 years, we're going to have 100 or whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. Tell them the vision. I don't want a temporary employee. I'm trying to hire someone that I can train to help me run and build this business. Right now, I'm trying to hire people that are going to seed the leadership for an enterprise that's going to be this big in this many years. If you're interested in that, I'm interested in that. That's what I'm looking for. You can have a job, but that's not really what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Right? I'm looking for someone that can help me build a business, and not for me, but for us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they go, oh, okay. That's great. So now you got 5 guys. Now you got 10 guys. Now, oh man, we got a couple of really big deals come down. We got that freaking Walmart contract. We got whatever it is, right? Now you got 30 guys. Well, you've told the story so many times. The 10 guys know it well. But the newest 10 guys, they've never heard the story. And what I've learned is most organizations, the story, the founding story and the story of ownership and the story of why never makes it to the end of the row. That last generation of hires, they get some kind of watered down version, and so they just got a job. They're not connected to the mission, the cause, or the vision, or the birth of the company in any way. You don't want to sound like a broken record. You've told your vision story so many times that you can hear it in your sleep. So you stop telling it. They don't hear it. So now you got employees, partners, a few visionaries.
Yeah.
You can never stop telling the story.
Yeah. All right. One last question for you here. You've been married for how long?
33.
33 years.
33 of the best years of her life.
Now, I know a lot of guys that
was
have
a
got
joke.
divorced. Kirk. How about your life? Best years?
Best years of my life.
Okay.
High growth years.
Yeah.
Okay, you know a lot of guys got divorced. And?
A lot of guys got divorced. There's some crazy people out there.
Yes.
How do you know you're picking the right person that's going to stick around and be loyal?
You don't.
You don't?
You don't.
Okay. So you just got lucky?
No.
No.
No, it's like anything else. So there's marriages there's countries that have, what do they call it? Arranged marriages.
Yeah, that's what the FLDS says.
Yeah. An arranged marriage can be better than a romantic marriage. Because people fell in love. Oh, you fell? Well, you might fall out.
Yeah, yeah.
So love who you choose, and then choose who you love. Choose who you love, then love who you choose. So I chose you, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to choose to stay with you. And that's going to take a lot of work.
Yeah.
So am I ready to do the work? You're not going to have a great business culture or a great family culture without clarity and a lot of commitment, a lot of consistency, and doing the work.
Yeah. So you're saying,
There will be a very, very hard time in your marriage.
Yeah.
Because you got your stuff. You got all your stuff, all the glorious stuff that is the best of you, that darkness that you're trying to manage and understand, and some stuff you didn't even know you had. And then she's got her stuff. You're like, I thought you're so cute and so attractive and so fun, and we dated. Where'd this come from? You're freaking crazy, right?
Yeah.
Now you got to show up for her crazy. You got to learn how to do that. You've never done that before. You go, babe, I've never been with a woman in this way before. So I'm doing the best I can, and then I'm going to do better.
Yeah.
But you got to figure that out. Not only that, you're going to have conversations with her you've never had with anyone. Nor, in your world, you've never even seen these conversations modeled. You don't even know what the conversation looks like. You've never seen a model for it. So now you're being asked to do something you've never experienced before. And you'll have to figure that out. But when you do, because you try and because you figure it out, she'll be like, wow, James really worked hard. That wasn't easy for him. I know where he's coming from. That was a big deal. And even though it took 10 years for him to get there, he's so hot to me right now.
Yeah.
I told you that last night at dinner. So I told you, Jaden, the guys last night at dinner, I read this book that I just mentioned earlier. And there were some things in that book that were a gut punch. A gut punch, because it just talked about some of the dumb things guys do when their women are critical of them or coming at them. And I was like, ooh, not only was that close to home, I felt like the camera was on me. I felt like they recorded a chapter of my life and published it for the world to see. Mm-hmm. And it was horrific. It was horrific. And I was like, wow. So I went home thinking about that. And I thought, my wife has dealt with that behavior, that response from me. She's dealt with it. And I now see clearly, more clearly than I've ever seen, I see how that response is wrong. Even though I thought I was doing the right thing, I see clearly how that affected her in a way I've never seen before. And I was horrified because I would never want anyone to feel that way, especially my person that I chose. But I had unintentionally, but quite frequently, given her that exact feeling. But now that I have the awareness of it, I can live in shame about it, or I can do something about it. So I told Rebecca, I said, hey, I listened to this book and this is what I heard. And as I was just trying to describe my grief and my sorrow and my remorse, she forgave me in the very moment I was doing it. And that's 33 years in. So that's your marriage.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thanks for all the advice, Kirk.
Yeah, the sooner you start, the sooner you can feel the pain and the joy.
Okay. What? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how soon that'll be. Honestly, I might need some time.
Woo!
All right. Trying to think. One food place in a different country that we gotta try sometime.
One food place in a different country we've got to try sometime. Do you like Indian food?
Yeah.
Curry?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. You pick it then. What would you say?
I like meat. I like meats. Like, I know we're in America. But
Okay, so what are these places, these Brazilian steakhouses you go and they come around with a skewer and they cut meat off? Do you know those places?
I don't.
There's a couple right here in Utah County. They come around, they give you a little coaster that's red and green. If it's green side up, then these guys just walk around with a big skewer of meat, lamb, pork, whatever. They just shave it off this big skewer until you, right? And they keep coming around until you flip your chip over.
Oh, okay.
You've never been to this place?
No.
Next trip to Utah, we're going there. Dude,
Pickleball and...
You definitely have to get out more, and I'm going to help.
Yeah. I haven't been out a whole lot. You got to see I have a kitchen right here.
Okay, and the other thing that is, I would go to Costa Rica. I'd go to Costa Rica, and I'd go to some restaurant. I would ask the concierge at the hotel, where's a restaurant I can go to get the freshest food ever? And there's a Marriott really close to the airport that's also got half of it in the jungle. And Rebecca and I stayed there for a couple of days before we went on our river trip. And they gave us fruit that I'd never seen before in my life. They had picked that morning. I didn't even know it existed on the planet Earth. It was the most amazing. I was like, what is happening right now? What is happening right now? And I said, what is this fruit? And they go, I've never seen it. They go, well, it doesn't travel well. So it's not something you can take to the grocery store. You have to pick it and eat it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay,
sounds excellent. That's what I want to try. The fruit.
If any of you know Jaden, and because I only come to Utah every couple times a year. If any of you know Jaden and you know where he lives, take him to a Brazilian steakhouse. See, I can't even believe. I'm so sad for your life right now.
Yeah, it's Kirk. I think
I'm so sad
I
for you.
haven't been out near as much as most people.
So let's get Jaden to a Brazilian steakhouse. I can't even. Did you like your Huasca's kolache?
Yeah, it was great.
Right?
Yeah. I loved doing it with you more, though. Like, okay, we got to get out more. We got to experience life a little more.
You.
Me.
Jaden. I mean, I'll take you, but I can't carry you around my backpack.
I know.
So pickleball, Brazilian steakhouse.
Okay. In the meantime, I'll try to do more things so that when you come on the podcast next, I'll be like, oh, you've done that. You've done that. Yeah, I've been there.
And let's ask a couple women out so that when I come here with my wife, we can go out on a double.
Oh, I think I had a hinge date coming up later. We'll see.
I don't know what's a hinge date.
You know, back in your day, they didn't have Hinge.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's just a dating app called Hinge. Hinge. Yeah.
Hinge sounds like you swing both. Hinge sounds like you swing both ways. It sounds like a bisexual dating app.
It's like I don't want to. I do it for the practice. I don't want to meet my wife on Hinge. That'd be a bad story.
Yeah, no.
Bad storyline.
Yeah, because
like I should meet her up on a hike or where's the best place?
Who came up with Hinge? Like Unhinge? Hinge just sounds like Hinge. I don't know. Okay.
It's like kind of like Tinder, you know.
I think you should take a cooking class.
Really?
Yeah, that's great. Now you're doing something as opposed to going to a restaurant or a bar and you're like, I just think that I could never do that. When do you really start talking to people? Pickleball a little bit while you're doing something with people.
Yeah, I don't
Right?
I don't know if I like cooking.
It's not about the class.
I can cook steak.
Some
It's
skills.
not about the class. Okay,
It's about just being there with a group of people and just kind of chatting, being social.
that's why I felt uncomfortable.
There's work.
We'll get it.
There's work for all of us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks everybody for watching. If you like the podcast, please like and subscribe. We're almost to 1,000 subscribers, Kirk. We're like to 921 or something.
So what are you going to do with this podcast? Because we rambled about 15 different topics over the course of 2 hours. What is this? What are you going to do with this thing?
I'll post it. It's fun.
Do some heavy editing. That's my request. Heavy editing.
I'll edit it a little. People want to see Kirk. Also in the future, we'll have more Kirk on and more exciting people. So
Next time I'll bring 10 books. We'll give books away to your listeners.
Okay.
Your viewers.
Yeah. Oh, I have one of your books over there. It's
Well, don't give that away.
The
The Dog Poop Initiative.
Should we give it away to like the top comment?
Sure.
Let me grab it.
Yeah. All right. So if someone stays all the way to the end,
Yeah.
if you've endured this thing to the very end, and you are the top comment,
Yeah. Yeah.
Jade's going to mail you this book.
Yeah, you gave me this book, Momentous Man.
Oh, did I sign it? Does it say Jaden in it? Okay, good. He can sign it for you.
Yeah. Kirk's The Dog Poop Initiative. Yeah.
Read the subtitle.
The #1 book for dealing with the #2 problem in your organization, team, or family.
The #1 book for dealing with your #2 problem. What's the #2 problem? It's that pile of crap that everyone talks about, but no one's fixed it yet.
Poop.
The poop. All right.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Will you ask everybody to subscribe, since they'll do it better if they'll do it better if you ask.
Listen, for his self-esteem, to build his confidence, and because he has a genuine, authentic desire to explore and unpack people's lives and have a better understanding of how to live his own, this is a great place to go together. So subscribe.
Thank you, Kirk. So Kirk gave me this gratitude rock, and Kirk gave me 3 of these at Momentous Man,
Right.
to give away.
Yeah.
So do you just give these? How often do you give these away? This one's a fancy one. This one's got gold letters.
Yeah, the ones that we made at Momentous, we just did a marker on a stone. The idea is that we look for things to be grateful for. And so if you see someone going the extra mile, or someone that was extra kind, or someone that took initiative in some way, then instead of just observing that's cool, maybe approach him. Or if someone serves you in some way, say, listen, you did more than I expected. You did more than you had to do. So I just want to express gratitude. So then you say, can I give you a token of gratitude? And they're like, what? Can I give you something? They say, sure. Then you give them the stone. But you don't just give it to them. You go, this stone is not perfect. It's unique, like people. And it's not perfect, like people. But if I take this stone and I throw it in water, it's going to make ripples. Just like your act of kindness has created ripples of gratitude in my world today. I want to give this to you, and I promise you it's going to bring you good luck. And then you give them the stone.
Yeah, I love it, Kirk.
And you've done it.
Yeah, I've done it.
You've given them away.
Yeah. Kirk claims that he accused me of having a man fridge.
Look. Has there ever been any food down there?
Once or twice.
I don't even believe it. I don't think these drawers have ever been opened.
They have.
Pickles and eggs. Pickles, eggs, and ketchup. This is... Yeah.
I love blueberries and cream.
Yeah.
I go to Walmart. I only get this brand. This is mixed, but I only get this brand.
Okay.
Blueberries and cream.
Blueberries and cream.
Haagen-Dazs ice cream.
Well, you're really feeling the edge. Really feeling the party coming on.
Yeah. My sisters made these breakfast burritos.
They made those?
Yeah, just like for me. I have like.
I love breakfast
bags.
burritos, yeah.
Yeah, you can just warm them up in the morning.
They made those for you?
Yeah.
I need sisters like that.
Yeah, I know.
I just have brothers that suck.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're sending Kirk off to Arizona. Thanks, Kirk, for coming.
What a delight it's been to be with you, Jay. What's the name of your podcast? We didn't even talk about
Jaden Jeff's podcast.
the Jaden Jeff's podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. Where do you want me to park?
Just pull up past that car. I'll walk. I'm not,
Imagine living in Arizona when the weather here is.
that guy just took our spot.
When the weather here is this nice, imagine living in Arizona.
Yeah, I can't. I don't even want to go home right now. It's so perfect here. Perfect.
Okay.
And just in front of this guy's fine. We're just.
Yeah.
We're not in a hurry. Mountains, come on.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Mountains. Okay, Kirk. Say goodbye to the podcast. See
Bye.
you guys.